I go to church every goddamn Sunday, and you're going to bring the demons out of me?
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Zareth Prevails. Guys, I've got Calvin Awesome here, and he is going to help me, and he's probably going to teach me as well. We're going to talk a little bit about the best duos in the game, and it's not just duos that work that will work well together, like IG or Queel. It's teams that will actually kill another team. So, Calvin, how are you today, my friend?
I'm doing super well. First off, thanks for having me. But yeah, the goal of today's video is pretty much when you go up against this opponent and they either didn't expect you to get into the back wall or they just left like a super weak defense and you're trying to maximize your banners, but you don't want to necessarily be super risky and just taking one character. You want to kind of guarantee your chances by taking in these two exact characters to take down a whole team.
Absolutely. And so, guys, I can't have a better guest for this because a lot of you know already, but if you don't know yet, and I will have all of his links in the video description for Twitch and YouTube. But Calvin is a multi-time, what, 5 times at this point?
Yeah, that's five.
Kyber Premier. See, you knew what I was gonna say. Kyber Premier Champion, and the other times he doesn't get the number one spot in whatever division he's in, he gets top 10. You got top 10 at least once in Division 1. Once you finally got there before we transitioned back to Division 4, right?
It was a long journey, but yeah, I did. I think my highest ever rank in Division 1 was 4th. That's my call to claim or my call to fame.
Which is way better than what I've gotten. I think I got 22nd or 28th or something
You've gotten
bad.
69th though, so that's pretty cool.
That's true. I got it twice. How many people can claim to have gotten 69th twice? Probably a
Not
few,
me.
but not in Division 1. Not the grade A stuff like me. So now, also, I guess my alt did get number 16 in Division 1. So, still not as cool as you. Plus, you're gonna win. Like, you're already ahead in Division 4. Like, I'm at the point now. I'm like, I need you to fail an attack at some point, which I don't think you will. So
Hoping I don't.
I
It's
know.
gonna be
I'm
the goal.
like, I hate watching you on Twitch sometimes because I'm like, please fail. No, don't fail. You're my friend. But fail. I need you to fail here. It's hard.
I had the same feeling last time because you were ahead of me for last season for I think the first 3 weeks, and I had this like very in between feeling of like, okay, I don't want him to fail the match. I just need him to drop like 4 battles.
Oh man, yeah, I failed a few toward the end there. I had a couple opponents who were just really rough. I actually, whatever. This isn't a talk about our. We could totally just
About our
talk about that.
competition.
But I know. Well, here's the long and the short of it, folks. Calvin is better at that type of play than me, at the very least. Like, he's probably a better player at period, but we can't really tell because our accounts are in such different places. But
Oh yeah,
what
that's
I
true.
can say is my alt tries to play the same game that Calvin does with min maxing and stuff, and I am worse than him at it. Like, I have to get lucky to win. I may be in the same conversation, but it's like, how many times was Carmelo Anthony like technically in the conversation for MVP alongside LeBron James and Kobe Bryant? Like, no one really considered him better, like a real threat. It's like, well, I guess if LeBron breaks his leg, maybe Melo can win, kind of thing. So
Yeah, I'm not huge into basketball, but I don't know who that is, so that tells you enough.
he's one of the few Nuggets players who is actually in contention for that. Though I will say, Nuggets did just get an MVP for the first time ever last season. But this isn't about NBA. This is about Galaxy of Heroes, something significantly less popular and more nerdy. So, to begin,
Better.
our first duo, and this is one of my very favorites, is Jedi Knight Luke with Hoda.
Mm.
What do you like about it?
I mean, really, there's not a whole lot not to like about it because one of the great things by using Hoda in there is you pretty much guarantee the Hoda is going to be faster than the enemy team because it's naturally super fast. And as soon as you call Jedi Luke to go, you're reducing their entire enemy squad, and then they have to play this terrible game of the only target they can hit, because Hoda's stealth is this Jedi Knight Luke who has retribution on him, and every time he counters you, he's going to be having his max protection just continue to stacking. So he just obliterates teams, and really at their own hand, which is a beautiful thing to watch.
Oh yeah, it's wonderful. I think the thing that you just have to watch out for is, like, you really want to time your heals just right. Or sometimes, in some weird circumstances, I won't even do the hero's call from Hoda right away. Like, just because I want to have that, because that recovers your protection as well. If I think I can time it so that I can recover some banners or whatever, like, then you can put Foresight up to start with, so that they get their initial misses in, and then Jedi Luke goes ham on a few people, and then Hoda could potentially time it so that he calls the last shot and everyone gets healed up. But it is important, because this team could theoretically only get like a 54 or 53, which would be super disappointing usually.
Yeah, no, the whole point of all of these is you're really trying to maximize your banners. So knowing when to use the right move is very important. There have been several times where I kind of host myself because I was like, oh, my Hoda isn't stealth. I don't need to put up the Foresight. But that was the exact turn the stealth went down. So you do have to pay attention to your turns.
Absolutely. And so guys, just to be real clear here too, we're talking about trying to max banners here. We're not trying to just say, like, just win the fight. Like, it's get a 55 or this is a fail sort of thing, or beat a really tough team or this is a fail. Like, do something impressive essentially, not just like tread water, we're good. That being said, our next team up is, and this is going to change a little bit with the upcoming changes. I think they're going live this week. I wouldn't be surprised if by the time I published this, they were already live. But the next duo that I love to death is Darth Vader and Thrawn. They're just so good together. I don't know what things are you looking at with this matchup? Like, what are you trying to do with it?
I actually want to know where you're coming from with this on the Xerath, because I don't have Darth Vader's lead Zeta, so I traditionally use Thrawn. Do you use Darth Vader lead here?
Pretty much always. I mean, Thrawn lead can work actually, just because I love doing the half steps. You get so much control. Like, in the hands of a good player, sometimes you could just like. It's just so fun. Like, you're running circles around a team because you're like, oh, I don't want Vader to take a turn quite yet, so you just take that half step. And then Thrawn goes, and he's like, well, I don't want... Okay, he'll pass a turn to Vader, and then Vader, like, you could do all this weird stuff with him. But traditionally, I love Vader because what you end up doing, especially in threes, you make it so that they can't, you get all these dots on people. Thrawn usually is faster, especially in threes, because Vader isn't getting as much bonus speed. Thrawn will either fracture someone or potentially just pass the turn to Vader if he's faster, if you need him to. But like, specifically against Geos, I think in threes it's my favorite because
100%.
Like, you have Vader do his Force Crush. Thrawn has fractured the Brute, so he can't hit Vader back. And then, as long as Vader can kill Spy, and it's with the Saber Toss, which, again, that might not be as effective now, because he's only doing, 60% of what he used to do. But if he can still do it, then the rest of the fight is just them bouncing off of Vader and Thrawn the whole time. They can't kill him, and those dots never go away. They can't dispel you to completely screw you over.
No, yeah, it's I love to use against Geos, and you said it. I think one of the most important things is Vader really has no way to stop counters, and Thrawn essentially holding the Geo or whoever's arms behind their back really fixes that.
Yeah, it's super nice. And then, like, usually what'll end up happening in a lot of the Geo fights, so I do this in 5v5 against Geos too, is traditionally, like, Sunfac will shoot me back, or one of them will get a hit in or something, but it's not enough to finish Vader off. And so Thrawn, once he gets tired of holding someone's hands behind their back, or if maybe they're dead, then he can heal Vader and himself a little bit and get those max banners. So, I've done Vader solo against Geos before, and it is scary. Or against like 5v5 Geos, super scary.
I know there's a lot of
Thrawn,
people who do it, but I don't have the guts for it. Maybe it's because again I don't have the lead Zeta. Mine is R5, but he's just so fragile. If they get more than one turn off on him, it goes south really quickly, and you go from like a 64 and fives to minus 20 banners, and you have to clean it up now.
right, and you don't have Vader available.
No.
But Thrawn makes it way more possible because not only does he do like so Vader will do his merciless massacre, and then Thrawn will get a turn soon. Like, they'll try to hit Thrawn too, and he'll shoot him, and he does a lot of damage at relics. And then eventually, though, like he can pass the turn to Vader as well, and Vader can keep up hit. Like you're starting to lose momentum, and then Thrawn is like his just a one man like momentum starter. Like he can just get it going again. So, really fun. I will be very interested to see how Vader is changed with it. Like it's looking very promising actually. Like for these undersized teams because he's going to be able to heal himself through those dots.
That his basic is going to be more consistent too, because if he's laying an ability block on everyone, and the AI loves to prioritize Thrawn, he's just going to shoot him back and stun him.
Yeah. Oh yeah, that's a great piece of synergy I didn't mention. Absolutely. Absolutely love that team. So next we have the leaderless duo of Chewie and Han. And similarly, I like this team. I have such an aversion to going without a lead a lot of times. What do you like about this team? Because this is the one you mentioned.
Yeah, I mean, it just has a really, really great way of just locking a team down before they even move. Because a lot of people are running that fast Han in general now just for mirror matches. So what you'll do if you have for example, I have a 290 Han, I'll stun an enemy right when I start. I will stun another one. I'll reduce turn meter on another one, and then I'll stun someone with Chewie. So I will pretty much be able to lap the entire team because they either were stunned, killed, or had their turn meter reduced. And then you can go back and you can clean up the rest with whatever you need to do. And also, again, we talked about banners. Anytime Chewbacca moves or does damage, really, you'll be able to get your protection banners on both him and Han.
Yeah, absolutely. It seems really cool. Like I do like that Chewie can heal them. And I think the thing that I misunderstood for a long time about Chewie's kit is so he every time he does damage, he's healing what, like 3%, something like that in his
That is
kit.
correct. Yep.
And so it's like 3% is pathetic, but especially like in 5v5 when you're using them in the greater context of the context of a greater team, like Chewie does every time he hits someone, he does two different types of damage. He does his physical damage and then he does his percent health damage. And so if he does his AoE, he's doing 10 versions of damage that's healing 30% health and protection on Han. Like that's, and the other person who's guarded. Like that's not an insignificant amount.
I didn't realize it for the longest time too, because I thought 3% is really small, but it's to mitigate for those other damages that are coming out of him.
Yeah, it's fancy. And actually, I don't think. Hold on. So it's two forms of damage. That's 15. Yeah, I think I did the wrong math, but it's
more than 3.
Yeah, it is. And for a long time, I thought that's what it was. So, and it might be. Let me think. 3% hitting 5 guys. 15 doing it twice though. That's 30%. I did it right. Your pause undermined my confidence. Damn it all. So,
my bad.
How dare you? This is why you're better at these things than me. No, I don't know how that proves it, but your name at the very least. Calvin Awesome versus Zareth Prevails really seems like an immovable object versus whatever the other one is, irresistible force.
Something like that, yeah. Sounds like your hands between a rock and a hard place.
It does a little bit. Yeah, maybe one day we'll get paired. That would be kind of fun. I need to get some GLs.
If they could somehow mash the type of account your alt has and your main, that would be perfect.
Wouldn't it? I just wish we could do. Yeah, my alt would just lose because I don't have any GLs.
And I would get destroyed by your main.
Well, because you have less GLs. Yeah, like it wouldn't. We'd have to find some kind of weird hybrid. Anyways, we've got next up General Skywalker,
Ooh.
and someone from the 501st. We chose Ahsoka because a lot of times she's kind of the leftover one a little bit. Even though I kind of debate that she should be left over. Like, what are your thoughts on this duo?
Yeah, and what we talked about this one beforehand, and really any 501st can kind of fit into the spot, but we're right in the middle of 3v3 right now. And a lot of times, especially you don't have JMK, Ahsoka is kind of just left out because people love to put all the 501st clones together. They love to run the 501st clones with Shock. They love to stick specifically Jedi Anakin and GK with Padme. And a lot of times you're left over with this really good option of gas with Ahsoka. Because there's a lot of people who love to use gas solo for things, but again, a lot of those can end up adding into just general failures because you're using against like a boss team and they get to their contract really fast because they hit you in 10 turns and you can't kill them before they do that. You just get annihilated, or Spirit goes first and she applies Plague and Stun at the same time, and you can't get out of it because you can't cleanse it. It's nice to have that extra unit there to ensure that you don't get totally pulverized.
Yeah, I like it. Like, how many times I've just seen so many streamers just like, oh, I had no idea I would lose with that. I'm like, of course you're gonna lose with that. They have a stun. Like, they have a something like an irresistible
An
two-turn
irresistible,
stun.
uncleansable stun. I've seen that battle.
Yeah, oh, like Night Sisters are great because they get plague on someone and they put a little health damage on them, and then they stun Skywalker, and it's over. It's awesome. Sit down, young Skywalker. One thing I do like about Ahsoka that she does a little better than the other clones is she can do her big hit to start things off with and give him some protection up.
Yep.
So in theory, he could take a little incidental damage without actually dropping a banner if you just needed one more turn with him or something to be able to finish everyone off.
Yep, and I mean that evens your banners out at the end of the day because unless your gas is going first and literally annihilating everyone in one hit, you're going to get one. You're going to lose that one banner anyways.
Right. So yeah, it can work. You can use other 501st. It's fine. Sometimes you can solo people, but it's scary and ill-advised in my opinion. So next up, and this is one of my favorites, even in 5v5. I know Calvin does this too.
Mm-hmm.
Darth Revan and Bestie Fallen. They are amazing. And then you can just use Malak to solo something, though this isn't a solo video. What are your targets on this? What are you trying to do with your Darth Revan for 63? Calvin?
This one, it's really just beautiful because a lot of these can get into kind of like niche situations where you have to look for specific synergy. Like, oh, gas doesn't allow revives, so we'll destroy NS. We'll do an NS solo. Or like Geos, there's 6 of them, so we're going to bring in Vader so that he gets to loot more around with merciless massacre. This one has a really wide collection of things that it kills. I will normally, I'll take this for a specific motive. Let's say I need to counter their Darth Revan and I know mine is faster. And it'll get better banners than gas would, and they don't play Darth Revan. And then I'll just survey the field for like the next strongest team that they have down. It can be crew, it can be Night Sisters, it can be bounty hunters, a huge amount of things. As long as I have access to hitting their leader right in the beginning, so a pre-taunt can be worrisome, or even I guess Night Sisters, doesn't matter. You can take down some legitimately good B teams. And really, again, we talked about it 3 times now. I'll say it again. Bash the Sean Fallen has protection recovery for both of the characters, so it is very easy to get 63 on in 5v5.
Yeah, I love the team. It's so cool. Like, you put lightning on one of them, and then Basti just kills the entire team. They just like fall over. I love seeing a Night Sister team just like melt suddenly.
They don't even get the zombie revives because they all die at the same time.
Right. Well, yeah, they just collapse. You're like, who died first? It doesn't matter. That was awesome. Yeah. Yeah, some of my favorite moments in this game is using that lightning strike at the right moment. The whole team just melts. Next one. This is a contentious one. We hate each other over this. No.
Totally.
But Basti with someone. Who will it be? Will it be the Wampa or will it be Ki-Adi-Mundi? And to be fair, I don't really know that Ki-Adi-Mundi is like, I kind of like having a third Jedi in with them if I'm going to do that. But I mean, I do think that they've got a lot going on. She can buff him, call him to assist. When she calls him to assist, he hits twice, and then he is all buffed, and he doesn't even need buffs, but then he just goes and slices someone. Of course, you do need a relic Ki-Adi-Mundi, so that's not something everyone has, but it's also just a really nice thing to say, like the demonstration of Ki-Adi-Mundi doesn't need Galactic Republic Jedi. He's
Yep.
good with all Jedi. In fact, he's in a lot of situations better without that tag. So, what do you think about Basti Wampa? Let you play end all here a little.
Yeah, if I like hated you and we were mortal enemies, my entire debate would just be, I don't have Cam. Like you said it yourself, we're getting to a point where actually a lot of people are getting access to him, but a lot of people still don't. So even if he is the right answer, and honestly, he totally could be, because you mentioned him not having the GR synergy, but a lot of what Bastila already does kind of makes up for that. Like the ridiculous amount of buffs, you make up for a certain amount of offense there. The protection up kind of makes up for the health. You get turn meter at the beginning, that kind of makes up for the speed. So there are kind of a lot of the same elements, but I do really, really love the Wampa element because of just kind of the synergy they have. Number one, Wampa hates having debuffs on himself, and you pretty much have a cleanse that is not conditional at all to the character you're putting on. Wampa doesn't have to be a Jedi. That's kind of a cool concept, though. Bert won't go out of that one. And then he just loves the buffs. Every time he uses his basic, he can gain turn meter. So when she's calling him to assist, it does that. They both kind of have a protection up mechanic. So again, this is an easy way to guarantee that you end this with high banners. They're just a really great combo because they offer both the survivability side of things as well as the damage side of things.
They do. I do like Wampa's control factors too. If you have his whichever Zeta,
It's good Zeta.
Is good Zeta. If you put his good Zeta on, which I actually do have an opinion on which one that is, but the one Zeta I do think in this case, like I like that he has healing immunity available sometimes because she can stun, she can get buff immunity on people. He can put dots out there. I think that doesn't factor into my strategy at all, actually. But he also does a huge amount of damage. He can get daze, though, which is one of the most powerful debuffs out there. And he can get that healing immunity. Like you have a lot of tools in that duo toolbox. So, and like you say, they both have a mechanic so that they can get high, like max banners. And the thing I like about Wampa a little bit more than Ki-Adi-Mundi is Wampa can keep replenishing his protection up. Ki-Adi-Mundi's like, oh, I'm out. I guess I lose a banner.
Like, once it's gone, it's gone for him.
Yeah, he has no recourse. I guess he can kind of regrow it back if he wants to with his stance change and stuff. But that's a pain, and it's not that practical. Anyways, this is a really good combo. It would actually work well as a trio as well, in fact.
Yeah, it would. I mean, you got to pick a decision. The enemy can kill Wampa, and they have to do it with Cam, or they can kill Cam, and they have to do it with Wampa. Neither are great options.
Right. The one thing I will say about this option is if the opponent has faster characters than Wampa, the chances of them stealing a quick banner on him are fairly high because he doesn't start with protection up.
Yeah, you actually, that's a good point because he can actually just die too, because the protection up really is crucial for him staying alive. It offers things like tenacity as well. So if they stick something like healing immunity on him, I guess that can usually be cleansed with Bastila, but still, yeah, speed is a consideration as always.
Yes, yeah, it's always a consideration, but in this case, it's like if you want a 55, that's a conditional. If you're not faster. Like maybe Basti, if you're like, okay, I'll try this because I need a 55. You can maybe stun one character with Basti to start off with, but then after that, Wampa's on his own. It's like, please hit Basti. Oh, you hit Wampa, I lose. Okay, cool. I didn't want to win that anyways. That's cool. All right, next up is Kira Nest, and we talked about this. Like, we want to max out banners. When we take Kira Nest, we forfeited 3 banners immediately, essentially. Like, unless they're really bad, in which case, why would you take Kira in the first place? You don't need Kira for Nest. You love Nest more than the next man. Tell us what's going on here.
Yeah, this you said it, and it's important that you said it. This actually does lean towards the other side of things. This is generally not a counter that you use. Actually, in 5v5, it can be okay because you can get a 60 on it. But in
Sure.
3v3, you're often like this. This is a banner hit. This is a team that you have to use when you need to win. You don't necessarily need to get out of it with a 55 or a 56 or what have you. But it's still a very legitimate team, and oftentimes the amount of protection and the amount of damage that she is going to give to Ness for the rest of the battle, it can be crucial. I know that one of the teams that's very flip-floppy in 3v3 with Nest is Mon Mothma with Wigs, because number one, Wedge himself can hit really hard, and they have a lot of survivability. So if you're missing the 30% offense that she kind of gives Nest for freezies, you can time out, or if you don't have the protection recovery, Wedge can get a good hit on you, and you can also die. So she just adds a little bit more comfortability, but like Zareth was saying, this is really more so on the side of you need a good win. You don't necessarily need to max your banners.
Yeah, which sometimes that's what you need, but you know, and you can do some really crazy stuff with Dest as long as you have Kira lead. Like as long as you understand the mechanics, you came pretty close to failing even against like a just okay Jedi Knight Revan team, but like I've always loved that mechanic. I've tried it a couple
I forgot
times
about that.
and misjudged a couple times. I'm like, I think I can do it, but if you don't get enough crits, you can't kill Jolie, you just time out. But the fact that if you understand the mechanics of that right, if they Jedi Knight Revan, everyone's like, oh yeah, you'll just melt her health down. Doesn't work the way you think it is. It does because you don't have enough potency. If there's not potency on that team, they're not getting past her high tenacity, and therefore they just time out again. Like if they attack Nest, they also time out. So, yeah, like that debuff thing from Jedi Revan really relies on Basti to be in there. Really, a lot of times.
Yeah, because she gives 100, I think 150% potency after you cycle in both her uniques, which there
right.
is no Nest under Farm Boy Luke lead with Hoda that's going to get through that.
Right, exactly. And so if Basti's there, it doesn't work. But if you can understand the mechanics in play there, then Nest can solo that team if you judge right. And you came really damn close to just getting destroyed there. So or just timing out. That being said, you pulled it off, so that was one of those times that I was like, yes, lose. No, win. No, like you're rooting for and against your friend. It's terrible. Terrible situation to put me in.
It's always a good time.
Sometimes. All right, next one. This is one that you didn't like as much. I forced it in
That's
on
true.
this list, though. I really like General Grievous with B1 as a duo. And that's because, well, I'll tell you what, I'll let you fight against it first, and then I'll know all the arguments I have to make to crush you.
Well, you use this a lot more than I do. General Grievous, both in 3v, and your alt at least. General Grievous for me is
Yes.
pretty much strictly a defense team. One of the reasons why I don't really like this, and I know you have a good argument for it, is General Grievous is really, really dependent on his sides. One of his big things for success is number one, stacking health from kind of breaking down the droids around him, but also getting the bonus turns for when they die. So the more he reduces allies, the weaker he becomes as a team. And I'm not sure this will be the main argument you use, but the big caveat with this one is again, like we've talked about before, is really easy to get max banners on, because B1 has, the way his kit works is he's always going to come out with full banners as long as he's alive. And if the last hit he goes, he can top off a GG, or even if GG gets the last kill and he wasn't missing protection, you fly out of that with full banners.
Right. Well, and so that's what I like about him is if B1 it like General Grievous is always hitting his teammates. That's why everyone says he's not an efficient choice. And what I've discovered, even in 5v5, is that it's true. It's very difficult to get a 60 with him. But if you're okay with a 58, he'll get 58s all day because he's not hurting himself. He's not hurting B1 except for his stacks, and those stacks, unless they all disappear, those stacks don't actually like hurt at all. Like they
Yeah,
don't.
you don't get one less banner for having 60 stacks of B1 at the end.
Right, yeah, exactly. Like you just get all of health and protection for him for living, or you get none if he dies. So he's very efficient in that way. And so Grievous is going with him. B1 is healing Grievous as necessary. They both do their AoEs, and over time, I mean, sure, Grievous will kill B1. Other people will kill B1 over time. If it's 3v3 though, they have less attacks, and B1's keeping them alive, putting target lock on people so they can't hit back under Grievous lead. Grievous is doing an AoE, causing healing immunity. It works very well if you choose the right team. If you choose the wrong team, then your B1 melts, and then it gets dicey AF instantly. But, I mean, all of these require discernment, really, like
Yep.
discretion. All
Yeah.
right, oh, go ahead.
Sorry, go for it. No. Yeah,
Final
none of these teams are like usually your go-to choice. This is when you get an opportunity to go for high banners and you take it.
Yeah, exactly. When you need it, or you really want it. Same thing. Now, next up, this is a team that is super fun in theory. I think it works better at lower GP levels, just because teams start hitting really hard, start doing crazy things. But Darth Nihilus with Darth Scion.
That's right.
Nihilus lead. What it does is it transfers all protection into health. So if you take any damage, and then you can heal a bunch. You can't do crits, I think, is what it is. But then you have a ton of health steal, and so if you do win, it's pretty likely you end up with a 55, because that protection that is transferred into health all counts as protection banners, max protection banners for you. So what you've used it more recently than me, Calvin. What are your thoughts on this team?
Yeah, I mean, you hit the nail on the head. Again, we're going for high banners here. This is an easy one to hit for high banners, and this is really an anti timeout team. Like you'll get a lot of timeout teams that they'll have like 5 units with L3 and Van Dorn. You just can't get to the right target. You can't kill them because they keep reviving. And pretty much what this team offers you is you kind of have this meat tank over here, Scion, that is constantly taking the blows, and then he'll use his AoE or he'll use his big hit, and he'll just get all his health back. And then just play the waiting game with Nihilus until he can annihilate literally everyone on the team. And again, you end up coming out with really good banners, and you get to beat a team that was supposed to, in theory, strip banners or at least get a hold.
Yeah, it's a pretty cool team. Obviously, there are a few really scary things about it, like if they have a ton of damage over times that they can apply, if they have exposed damage, especially. All it takes is 5 exposes and you die. Instantly, yeah. Like it's kind of funny, actually. But if they do a ton of damage that you can't mitigate, it's also game over. So, fun team, but you got to be careful. It's rare that you find the right team to counter with it these days.
It is more so beginning of the game, because like you said, anything that functions around max health damage, exposes dots, or just like they have a hit that does 20% max health damage, it's going to cut right through you.
Yeah, it's scary. Like Han and Chewie, lol about this team probably. Yep. That percent health damage from Chewie, he's just like, yep, you're dead. DED. All right. So the final one for the top 10, and then we have one bonus one. But the final one, this is another one that's kind of a let's just get through this instead of getting max banners. So normally, Darth Malak in 3s is wonderful for getting a 56. You can do that all day. You even get 64s against the right teams in 5v5. But sometimes they hit too hard and he just melts. And in which case, enters Sauvage Oppress as lead.
Yeah, and the main use that I've seen this one for, and it might stretch beyond that, it's not something I use a lot, but a weaker Padme team in 5v5, where the Jedi Anakin has just enough potency where he'll be able to one-shot Malak, and Sauvage kind of pushes him over, and on top of that, you get the, like you said, the defense that comes with it, which is nice.
Yeah, I really like the defense, and now with the changes, that defense is going to be a little more relevant, possibly. The tenacity obviously is good as well, but yeah, I think the one that I've used it the most on in the past, and it's been a while since I've done this, but I've used it against good, like really strong shock T teams.
Yep. Oh, that's good.
With, like when especially when you have a little bit lower relic. I know that the one I'm showing here is relic 7 on Malak, but like what I used to do, I had low relic low relic Darth Malak, and I'd be facing these relic 7 clones in 3v3, and sometimes you lose, sometimes you win, but it's a question mark. If you put Sauvage in, though, like he dies, but you get through that team pretty easily because Malak is just bolstered by it. Like, and all it takes, really, I think I had a gear 8 Sauvage for a long time. So
Yeah,
I 12 and just as useful.
I leveled up his lead just for this. I forget who I saw do it a while ago, but I was like, oh, that could be something that would be really nice to have. And if I don't have it, that could really hose me. But yeah, mine is still, he's gear 8 or gear 9. He's gear 9 at most.
Oh yeah, Sauvage. I think someday maybe we'll make a video of best gear 8 and gear 9 characters, like the most impactful, because, on a good roster, because Sauvage is one of those guys, like, I bet he's killed 10 different Darth Malaks for me, like just cleaned up like that. It's embarrassing to say that I've lost that many times to just like I've killed the whole rest of the team and then Malak is left. But as long as you get him to half health, and I know it's ironic they're on the same team now, but like Sauvage has the best finisher ever. He just goes in and chops him down, which is less and less relevant as health pools increase. But yeah. Sauvage is one of those really useful characters at Relic, or at Gear 8, for sure.
A lot more than others.
I would argue he's more useful at Gear 8 than at Relic 8, actually.
Yeah, if you're wanting to look at your resources, there's no way around that.
Yeah, like, you're going to get about the same result from both, so may as well just not put gear on him. CG's like, oh, okay, he'll be the next requirement. That's cool. Okay, finally, we've got an honorable mention because we don't know how we feel about this. I don't think I've ever taken this team, but I think in theory you could shave a banner off sometimes. It's Geo Brood Alpha with the Spy, which means you have 3 Geos in there, and it just feels awkward. Yeah, like we talked about this team as a good potential solo team because you have 2 characters versus a team that is just kind of weak and will fold eventually. You can heal, you can get your max banners or whatever with that. Spy is really the only one who moves the needle at all, though.
Yeah, like even remotely. I mean, Geonosian Brood Alpha, especially in 3s or in 5s, he does most of everything you need him to do. He's going to be able to have someone who can tank. He does a decent amount of damage. He has buff removal. He's got a cleanse. He's got tons of stuff. Any of the other Geos really don't. Again, if you're looking to solo something, they don't add a lot. And Spy just kind of is a little bit of a nice guarantee that you're not going to time out if you play it right. If you save his big hit for the very, very end, he can get through something like Crew, whereas Geonosian Brood Alpha would just be poking him with a stick, literally, for 5 minutes.
Yeah, it's it'll make it so you don't time out. Exactly. I guess, I don't know. This could work. I feel like you want that extra health pool and stuff for the team. It's awkward. That's why it's an honorable mention. It's not in the top 10. I don't even know if it would be number 11, in fact. But it's an interesting thing to think about, at least. So, that being said, Calvin, we've been talking for almost 40 minutes, and we've got to get out of here. So, dude, I feel like we could just talk for hours about this game, frankly. Like, we talked about 11 teams in this time.
Easily.
Yeah, so, that being said, is there any last-minute wisdom you wish to impart to the people watching, the experts, so to speak?
Don't relegate your Sauvage.
I already said that. That was mine. You can't take that.
Don't relegate your Kira. We'll go with that then.
Boom. There you go. Yeah. Any of these
not at all the
Expendables
same
teams.
thing.
Yeah. Yeah. And don't, if you put Relic 8 on Nihilus and Scion, don't expect them to solo anything different than if they were like Relic 3 or something.
Yes.
Really. It's like Expose doesn't recognize relics on Nihilus.
Max health is max health.
Yep.
Dies the same.
Exactly. All right, man. Thank you so much for talking to me today. And guys, go do yourself a favor. Go follow Calvin on YouTube, especially follow him on Twitch. He does all of his GAC matches, or at least almost all of them, live on Twitch. You can watch him get another Kyber Premier champion just time after time. He does it live. He shows everyone how to do it. He's still on top, so he knows his stuff. Go learn from him. That being said, guys, thank you all so much for watching. And remember that in all things, Zareth and Calvin are awesome.